John chapter 15. And so today I'm going to speak about what I was sharing about outreach. And so John chapter 15 from verses 1 to maybe 17. John 15, 1 to 17. You know, we've been probably reading all this many number of times, the Gospels of John, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. We've probably read all of this, and these are some of the very positive and very popular and very, most read chapters. And so this morning, I want to talk about true disciples produce fruit. True disciples produce fruit. அதாவது ஏசுசாமியுடைய சீஷனா நீங்கள் இருந்தீங்கன்னா கனியை நீங்கள் காமிக்கணும். ஏசுசாமியுடைய சீஷனா நீங்கள் கனி காமிக்கணும். கனி நீங்கள் காமிக்கலைன்னா அப்புறம் சீஷர் யார் இருப்பாங்க? நான் சீஷர்னா நீங்கள் கனி காமிக்கணும் பைபிள் போட்டிருக்கேன். ஸோ ட்ரூ டிசைபிள்ஸ் ப்ரொடியூஸ் ஃப்ரூட். I am the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every fruit and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit, so they will produce even more. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. But if you remain in me and my words remain in you, you may ask for anything you want and it will be granted. When you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. This brings great glory to my Father. I have loved you even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. When you obey my commands, you remain in my love, just as I obey the Father's commands and remain in his love. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. This is my commandment. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confide in his slaves. Now you are my friends. Since I have told you everything the Father told me, you didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. This is my command: love each other. I'm just thinking about our lives and the things that we do, and the things that we think and the things that we believe. And it says here, if you're a true disciple, you should bear fruit. He starts off by saying, I'm the true grapevine, and my Father is the gardener. He cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more. This is a very simple passage, and you know what I love about Jesus is he gives lovely examples. He gives practical examples. Very, very down to earth. Here he's talking about a gardener. Gardener, branches, tree, soil, fruit, pruning. Who doesn't know about this? I think most of us here love plants and gardening, and we understand all this stuff. And so he says, my Father is the gardener. My Father is the gardener. He says, I am the vine, and you are the branches. Very simple. It says, he cuts off every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, and he prunes the branches that do bear. So one thing is very clear. If the branch doesn't bear fruit, it is cut. It is not spared. It is cut over. It's severed. And he says the branches that do bear fruit, he prunes the branches that do bear fruit. So when I'm looking at God, the gardener, pruning the ones that are actually bearing fruit, it's telling me he's looking for more. How many of us will plant a tree and not desire any flowers or any fruit from that tree? Would you ever plant a tree like that? The first thing that we are thinking is, when is this tree going to grow? When is the fruit going to come? When am I going to eat it? You don't want to plant a tree that takes up your time, energy, water, soil, and everything and be like a monument there. God, the gardener, doesn't want trees to be monuments. We're not monuments. We have to bear fruit. Now maybe you're asking, in what way can I bear fruit? Well, there are 100 ways we can bear fruit. There are 100 ways you can bear fruit. The point of the matter is, did you even think and consider if you want to bear fruit? That's the point of the matter. The point of the matter is not whether you can bear fruit. You will absolutely bear fruit. Do you want to bear fruit? And says, every branch of mine that doesn't produce fruit, he cuts off, and then he prunes the branches that do bear fruit so that they will produce even more. Note the words, even more. Which tells me God is not satisfied with fruits. He wants more fruits. Sometimes we think, I'm giving something to God. Well, the passage here says, you're not giving enough. You're not giving enough. And so it's important that we understand God's expectation in his heart is beyond what we can think of and even know. Because his expectation is that we become the best. We are the best. We perform the best. And we live the best. I've always believed God has us and wants us to be the best and give us the best. Not the second best and third best, the best. God wants us to have the best. And particularly, I'm very curious and I'm very, how do I put it? I'm very concerned and very questionable when I see young people choosing their partners to get married. I have a lot of questions for many young people. And when I see them choosing their partners. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying there are bad people that they're choosing and there are good people that are choosing. I'm not saying that. I'm just asking one question to everybody who's going to get married and who wants to get married. Why do you choose the 6th best and the 20th best when you can choose the best? And trust me, I've seen this mistake mostly with girls. It's not with guys. I've seen this mostly with girls. I don't know what's running in their brain and their mind or their heart or their kidney and their liver. I don't know what's running. But whatever's running is not right. It's not right. It's absolutely wrong. And guess what? The guys are very happy. Because they don't have to do anything or say anything. They're getting jackpot. The guys are getting jackpot while the girls are getting clay pot. How's that for the combination? Both are getting pots. One is getting jack and one is getting clay. And very soon Jack is happy with his pot. And Miss Pot, her pot breaks after a couple of weeks. There's no pot anymore. You see what I'm saying? I don't know how many young people I've counseled and asked them questions. Why do you want to marry so-and-so? Oh, I just love him. Really? Seriously? Like, why? I've never heard an honest answer with conviction and passion saying, I love this person for this. I love this person for this. This person is that. Oh my gosh, this. I've never heard one girl tell me anything like that. Oh, Godfrey, you don't understand. Well, that's why I'm asking you, because I don't understand. What do you understand that I don't understand? Just explain that part. Oh, he's awesome. And then I'm not telling them not to marry. I'm not telling them to marry. I'm just asking questions. They're not answering the questions. They're avoiding the questions. They're asking me questions. I'm asking them, why are you marrying that? Why shouldn't I marry? Yeah, you can marry. I'm just asking you why. And then they marry, and then the pot and the jack are working out life. And slowly the jack is becoming a whack, and the pot is becoming a mac. And then it's all crack. I don't know. Maybe we can write poetry. It's a mess. It's a mess. And then there's nobody there to cry with them. Tears are over. There's pain, there's grief. Family can't do anything. Friends are not even near. The friends who suggested that they were wonderful. The friends that said, oh, what a lovely couple, man. All those friends are far away. Family can't do anything. And Jack and Pot and Mac are, it's a mess. Now, why am I saying that? I'm asking, why do you choose 6th and 20th best when there is called the best? That's all the question. This whole explanation is only for that. God has the best for you. Don't settle for anything lesser than that. And he says here, I want you to produce more. Not just fruits, more fruits. Because God wants to do something when you produce more fruits. You see, when you produce more fruits, who's going to be blessed? You're going to be blessed. You're going to be blessed with more fruits. It says, even more fruits. You have already been pruned and purified by the message I have given you. Remain in me, and I will remain in you. For a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. Now, what is this remain in me? What is this remain in me? If Jesus is saying, remain in me, and I will remain in you. Note, he's saying, if you don't remain in me, I can't remain in you. He's saying, if you don't remain in me, don't expect me to remain in you. It's not possible. You see, we are wanting God to remain in us when we are not even in Him. How does God remain in us when we don't remain in Him? How does it work? What is it to remain in God? The later part of this verse, it talks about Jesus saying, remain in my love. So remaining in God is first of all understanding what's God's love for you. What's His love for you? How much do you actually know how much He loves you? Or did someone tell you that? Do you actually know how much He loves you? Or did someone tell you that? If somebody has just told you that, it means you've not understood the real love of God. Which means you've not tasted the real love of God. Here's the example. If somebody came and told you, did you taste Malika biryani? Yeah? I said, no, I have not tasted. Wow, man, Malika biryani is awesome. It's beautiful. They come, they put the plate there, and the biryani comes here. You can see the ghee there, and the pieces are coming like that, and they've explained Malika biryani to you. And you're feeling so happy because you know about Malika biryani. How do you know about Malika biryani? You heard someone who tasted Malika biryani explain Malika biryani to you. Now, that was an explanation of the taste of Malika to you. You've never tasted Malika biryani. How can you understand the real taste of Malika biryani? Listening to somebody, if you didn't go and taste it yourself. You see, the Bible says, Jesus says, taste and see I am good. He doesn't say touch and see. He doesn't say hear and see. He doesn't say read and see. What does he say? Taste and see that the Lord is good. What is taste and see? I've given this example many times. We go to the shop, especially you want to buy mixture and bundi and sweet and laddu and all. Indian habit. I'm not talking international habit. Indian habit. You go to the shop, we look at everything. How much is this? How much is that? This is fresh, sir. That fellow get irritated with you. What he does is, sabe, eat. Take, taste. Eat, if you like, buy. Smart guy. He knows his stuff is going to sell. He says, don't see and buy, taste and buy. Smart guy. He knows. Taste and buy. He knows you'll buy. But there are some shameless people who taste everything and buy one thing. That's another story. Don't worry about that. But if you taste, at least buy one thing. Don't be shameless. I know people who go to the shop. Such shameless people. Buy at least one thing if you take some taste there. Right? If you don't taste the love of God, you can't remain in that love. So when Jesus says, you remain in me, I'll remain in you, you have to experience God. Not read God. Not hear God. Experience God. How do you experience? The taste has to go into your system, and it goes into your body and into your brain and into your being. So you talk the taste. You don't explain what you heard. You explain what is inside you. When you taste God that way, you remain in Him. And then He remains in you. And then when you experience God the taste way, you will never keep quiet. You cannot keep quiet. You know, one of the points or clues that we need to get about producing fruit and tasting and not tasting. If you really taste something good, you will never keep quiet. You will go and talk about it. Doesn't matter whether it's food, clothing, a hotel, service, doesn't matter. You won't keep quiet. You will talk about it. If you have tasted it and you liked it, you will talk about it. So if you are not talking about the love of Jesus to people, if you're not sharing the love of Jesus to people, if you're not finding opportunities to introduce people to Jesus, it means you have not tasted properly. You've been hearing the taste. You've not been experiencing the taste. You can't go and eat some lovely chapati and kurma and chicken curry and stay quiet in your house. You can't do that. You're abnormal if you do that. Something is wrong with you. It means you never understood what you ate. You ate it, but you just didn't understand it. That's what's wrong with you. And so if you experience the love of God and sit quietly, it means you've not experienced God. You've not. That's according to the Bible. It says, you remain in me, and I will remain in you. And it says, for a branch cannot produce fruit if it is severed from the vine, and you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. He says, you cannot be fruitful unless you remain in me. And what is it to remain in Him? It's to remain in His love, experience His love, taste His love, and understand His love inside of you. He says, if you've not remained in me, you cannot produce fruit. And the question we ask ourselves today is, are we producing fruit? And if it's yes, how much fruit? And how are you producing that fruit? What's the process? And verse 6 says, yes, I am the vine, you are the branches. Those who remain in me and I in them will produce much fruit. So it says, if you remain in God, you will produce much fruit. Not just fruit, much fruit. For apart from me, you can do nothing. Anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch. It says, anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch and withers. Such branches are gathered into a pile to be burned. And so he's making it clear, if you don't belong to me, anyone who does not remain in me is thrown away like a useless branch. So it's not about us being Christians. It's not about us coming to church. It's not about us reading the Bible. It's nothing about that. Coming to church, being a Christian, reading the Bible is not about bearing fruit. That's just doing some exercises. So if I were to ask us a serious question this morning, please don't be offensive. Please don't be offended. I'm not being offensive. I'm just asking a question. Think about this question that I'm asking you. With all love and humility and graciousness, I'm asking this question. We are Christians, right? We're Christians? Okay. There are Muslims, there are Hindus, right? A Christian goes to church in the morning. A Hindu goes to church any part of the day they want to. A Muslim goes to mosque Fridays. Correct? What is the difference between three people? Think about it. What's the difference? So if I ask you, in what way are you different to the Muslim and the Hindu who also goes to temple and church, and to the Sikh who goes to his Gurudwara? What's the difference? What's the answer? By the way, just for the records, a Muslim will never miss namaz. Never miss namaz. Sun, rain, storm, cyclone, band, gind, bund, he is in the mosque. A Christian will miss church even if it drizzles. A Christian will miss church because the shoe was not found in the morning. A Christian will miss church because the child was cranky. A Christian will miss church because lunch was not ready. A Muslim will close his shop and lose his business to be in namaz. I don't know how many Muslims I've met that I'm talking to you about with experience. The other day I took my bike and I went to my friend who was, he does my bike, all the soldering and all that. I went to him and I said, "Sir, I've come." He said, "You're come in the wrong time. I have to go for namaz now." He said, "I'm sorry. This is not the time for me to do business. I'm going to pray." How many of you as Christians, when your friends came and said, "Come, we'll go here, come, we'll go get this," and say, "I'm sorry, I need to meet my God, come another day"? How many of you have said that? Right? I'm asking questions. The question I'm asking here is, what's the difference between us and them? I find actually them more committed. I don't know what they believe. Don't know, that's not, but I'm talking about commitment and love and passion. They're very committed. Try to go and distract a Hindu when he's in the temple. He will crack you if you distract him. That coconut in his hand will come on you. They're not bothered. I remember, I think last Sunday I was saying, I've never seen a Hindu or a Muslim holding the mobile phone in their prayer place, mosque. No mobile phones. I've never seen. They are very focused on, they are on the ground flat. Have you seen them in the temple? I love that. They're flat on the ground, kissing the ground. I see that every day, kissing the ground with reverence for God. Don't worry about which God that is. That's not the point. God, for them it's God. Reverence. Think about the reverence. When was the last time you and me as Christians were flat on the ground in reverence to God? Apart from you sleeping in the night. All the thing. When were you flat, prostrate in worship, in reverence to God? When was the last time? Go and ask a Hindu, he'll say, "Just in the morning only, sir. Puja bandhan, sir." New dress, pant, shirt. They're not bothered. Sari, they're not flat. They're not bothered. That is nothing for them. Inside they're passionate. Lots to learn. Lots to learn about their dedication and reverence. They are the type that remains in God. Even though they're remaining maybe in the wrong God. They're remaining in that wrong God. We have the right God and we're not remaining in Him. We are doing the wrong things to the right God. They are doing the right things to the wrong God. Consider it whatever you want to consider. It doesn't matter to me. I'm just telling you the truth of the story. If we don't taste God, we cannot produce fruit. And it says here, when you produce much fruit, you are my true disciples. So when are you true disciples? Only when you produce much fruit, not fruit. Not fruit, much fruit. Much fruit. This brings great glory to my Father. Do you want God to get glory? It says God gets glory when you produce much fruit. He doesn't get glory in other times. When you produce fruit, He gets glory. It says, I have loved you, even as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. How many of us are remaining in the love of God? We are trying to remain in everybody else's love except God's love. And that love is also a wonked out love. It's crooked, it's selfish, it's self-centered, it's angry. But still we are remaining in that angry love. I know of a very good couple friend of mine, lovely girl. Guy is also a nice guy, very nice musician guy. The guy used to trash that girl. Literally beat her blue. Her body will become blue. And it's so evident because she's fair also. You can see the blue brighter. I asked her, what happened? And she was, covering up. No, nothing, Godfrey. I fell down. I said, no, you don't fall like this. I've never seen anybody falling like this. What happened? No, he hit me. Why did he hit you? Oh, I said something he didn't like it. He hit me. I said, how long has this been happening? 15 years. I said, what? 15 years you're taking this crap? I said, yeah. I said, why are you doing this? You know what she told me? I love him so much. Love him so much. Oh, my darling. A darling thrashes you like that? It's the freaking good darling. Call him a freaking thrashing darling. Not just darling, call him thrashing darling. How does a darling thrash you like that? What, every time he thrashes you, oh darling, take one more blow, my love. Is that how you guys take and give blows to one another with darling and love? What kind of a love is that? You're remaining in this love for 15 years, this abusive love? We take that crap, that pain, we remain in 15 years. 15 minutes we are not able to remain in God's love, that's non-thrashing. God never thrashes us. When was the last time God thrashed any of you? When was the last time? Never. He's never abusive, never judging, never condemning. And we find it difficult to be in God's love. But we're very comfortable in someone's thrashing love. Abusive love. What in the name of love it seems? I'm wondering whether people actually know the word love. Do they actually know the meaning of love? That's not love. That's hatred. That's enmity. That's abuse. It's everything else except love. And says, I have loved you as the Father has loved me. Remain in my love. Do not remain in anyone else's love. Do not seek any. Remain in my love. When you obey my commandments, you remain in my love, just as I obey my Father's commandments and remain in his love. So why is Jesus asking us to remain in his love? It's because he remains in the Father's love. What he is doing, what he is experiencing, he's inviting us to do and experience. He remains in his Father's love. That's why he's able to produce fruit and be effective. And he's saying, if you want to produce fruit and be effective, you remain in my love, just like I am remaining in my Father's love. If you remain in anybody else's love, I'm telling you, I guarantee you problems. I will write it and give it to you. Try remaining in somebody's love, guaranteed problems. You remain in the love of God. That's your root foundational love. Now don't get me wrong. I'm not saying people can't love us. I'm not saying people who love us are not loving us. I'm not saying that. But nothing can equate. Nothing can come near. Nothing can substitute remaining in God's love. If you're not in God's love, you can never be in anybody else's love. If you understand God's love, you will understand another person's love. And here's the good part. Here's the good part. When you absolutely understand God's love, and if you get somebody who comes to you and says, I really love you, you know what you're going to do? You're going to make sure that that person's love is in accordance with God's love. And if it is not in accordance, it's abusive, you don't want it. So the foundational base of your life becomes strong. That means you have rooted yourself in God's love, right? You've rooted yourself in the foundational God's love. Because your foundation is in God's love rooted, Anybody who comes to you and claims to love you, you measure it with that foundation. And you find out whether that love is even close to what you've experienced from God. If it is, that's good love for you. That's nice love. Take it. If it is not, you're wasting your time and you're going to be disappointed and broken and you're going to be frustrated. So if you don't experience God's love and remain in God's love, when someone comes and tells they love you and they this and they that and that, you're going to think that that's the greatest love because you don't even know what is love, first of all. You've never experienced God's love. So what are you going to compare it with? What are you going to compare it with? You don't have any comparison. There's no foundational root. There's no base. That's the danger about trying to receive somebody's love when you've not understood the love of God. It's like you being educated and going somewhere outside and someone telling you something that's not wrong, and because you're educated, you know what is right and wrong. Correct? Now, if I ask you, what's the spelling of ice cream? We all know what's the spelling of ice cream, right? Because we studied it. We know it. And if somebody comes and tells you, hey, it's not like this. This is how ice cream is spelled. Will you accept it? On what basis will you reject it? On the basis of what your education has made a foundation in your life. On that basis, because that's the foundation. Nobody can give you another spelling of ice cream because you know what is the true spelling of ice cream. Likewise, if you are not in God's love, any other love, you won't even know whether it's fake or whether it's true, whether it's nice, whether it's bitter, sweet. You won't know. You'll just think it's amazing. Like jackpot. It's okay for jackpots to come. It's okay for Jack and his pot. That's fine. Check Jack's pot with God's pot. Find out whether it's the same ingredients, mood. Check it. If it's not the same, you can tell Jack to have his pot. You don't need to take it. You're going to be in trouble if you take it. And so it says, you remain in me because I remain in the Father. I have told you these things so that you will be filled with my joy. Yes, your joy will overflow. He says, I have told you these things so that you'll be filled with joy. One of the things I always keep telling people again and again and again, forget anything in life. Don't lose your joy. Don't ever lose your joy for anything. Not for business, not for job, not for studies, not for friends. Don't lose joy for anything. Because joy is the best secret that you can ever have in your life. That's the best. This is my command. Love each other in the same way I have loved you. There is no greater love than to lay down one's life for one's friend. You are my friends if you do what I command. I no longer call you slaves because a master doesn't confine in his slaves. Now you are my friends. Since I have told you everything the Father told me, you didn't choose me, I chose you. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit. It says you didn't know anything. I knew you from the beginning. It says I chose you. It says you didn't choose me, I chose you. I knew you from the beginning. I chose you. And I chose you so that you will be making the best of your life, producing the best of your life. And it says here, so that the Father will give you whatever you ask for using my name. And he goes and says, you didn't choose me. I appointed you to go and produce lasting fruit. God has appointed us to produce fruit. Not the church, not the pastor, not believers, not leaders, not elders. God has appointed you to produce fruit. So go produce them. But you can't produce them. It says you can't produce them if you don't remain in my love. You can only produce fruit based on remaining in God's love. And it says, this is my command. Love each other. Love each other. The 17th verse says, love each other. That's my command. Love each other. Now here's my question before I close. How do you love each other? How do you love each other? You can't love somebody if you've not experienced love. You can't. And so if you've not experienced the love of God, what are you doing in trying to love somebody? With whose love are you loving them? The neighbor's love, or uncle's love, or the pastor's love, or your brother's love? Whose love? You have to be able to experience God's love to love somebody. So what you get, you give. Only what you get, you can give. If you don't get, how do you give? And so remain in that foundational love. It says, remain in me and I will remain in you. Then you will produce much fruit. And if you're not able to produce fruit, he clearly says, I'm going to cut you off. You're not part of my vine. The branch is not going to be part of me. You can go and be part of any other tree. You won't be part of my tree. Many times we are part of a lot of people's trees, except God's tree. If you go and get yourself stuck with anybody else's tree, dangerous, very dangerous. Get connected with the true vine. Jesus is the true vine. You need to be connected with his vine. And then you'll remain in his love and produce much fruit. Let's all stand.